Broncos country, what is poppin'? Hope you guys are all having a wonderful day. The Broncos have an intriguing veteran cornerback option that is now available after the Las Vegas Raiders had failed to trade him, and that is veteran cornerback Jack Jones. Could he be somebody that the Broncos would be interested in bringing in as a good, solid veteran depth piece that can compete and that could always be someone that can fill in case of injury? We're going to break it down. We're going to talk a little bit about him and see if this would be a move that would make sense before the upcoming draft. So, guys, if it's your first time on the channel, appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you love Denver sports, if you love the NFL draft, consider subscribing to the channel, watch some of the other videos, and be sure to hit that little thumbs up button. That would be really dope. So I appreciate you guys. All right, so Jack Jones, let's get into what he is, right? Jack Jones is an intriguing player. I think he was originally drafted by the New England Patriots, I believe in the 4th round. Let me double check all of this, share the screen, make sure that this all looks like it's good. So let's check out some of the bio stuff. Yeah, he was traded. He was traded originally. I mean, he was drafted originally by the Patriots, traded over to the Las Vegas Raiders. He is 27 years old, soon to be 28, so he's still fairly young. And he's actually had pretty decent production in seasons so far. Now, obviously, him being traded early in his career and now being released before he ultimately has a chance to even get a contract outside of his rookie deal, it's always going to be some red flags. But we're not talking about Jack Jones as a player that the Broncos could bring in and he's a starter, right? Can he play special teams? Can he be a good veteran depth piece? I certainly think that he can. Here's some intriguing stuff about him when you look at him. So clearly, he struggled quite a bit this past year in Vegas, right? With a 52.9 coverage grade. You look at some of, he had a 65% completion percentage on him. He allowed 10 touchdowns. He did have 3 interceptions and 3 pass breakups, however. Now, he's a corner that, even though a little bit undersized at 5'11", 180, he's strictly an outside guy, right? So he's played in the slot like 101 snaps, but 1,600 outside as a corner. So he's an outside corner. And before he became a full-time player in Vegas, when he was kind of a rotational guy, he fared out to be a little bit better. And I think it's fair to assume that he's a player that still has some sort of a ceiling, right? Now, obviously, I think the Broncos are really good at corner. I think that I love our starters, PS2 obviously being the best in the league. Riley Moss showed a lot of wonderful things last year, and he's going to go into the season as a starter, as he should. Jaquan McMillan and Chris, would be the slot, and Chris Abrams-Drain will be able to provide some good competition and depth really at both cornerback spots. Now, I was always an advocate of bringing in another corner. I think we should draft corners every single year. Why not? See if you can hit. But if you look at the history of George Payton and Sean Payton, they've always brought in veteran corners that can, that got experience, that can fill in as needed, and, can also contribute on special teams in advance. But it's always good to have somebody that is experienced, what to expect from them, and that you can depend on to be in the cornerback room. And I think Jack Jones is the perfect mix of that. He's still young, so the ceiling is still there. Now, there's a lot of other options too, and there will continue to be after the draft and as guys ultimately get cut. But it's always good to bring him in. Now, obviously, last year we did it with Levi Wallace, and aside from the, obviously he got killed in the Cleveland game, but he had some decent ability to kind of stick in here before that. The year before, we did it with Fabian Moreau. I thought he played very well in the times. I was actually really kind of upset that we didn't re-sign him. But we do it every single year. We're bringing in vet guys that can do it. We haven't done it this year so far, but Jack Jones is somebody that I think can change that. Now, you got to think about it like this. Yes, Riley Moss is really good, but he's going to have to take another step for him to be elite at the I guess really effective at that cornerback 2 position. Because we all know that when you're playing opposite of an elite corner like Pat Surtain, you're going to get picked on a lot. Teams are going to throw the ball at you a lot. And so there is another level that he can take his game, I believe. And it's always good to have competition in the room. You do have Damari Mathis. He's gonna be somebody that's really gonna have to show something in camp, or he's not gonna, he might not have a job this upcoming year. He might be somebody that we look to let go of. So a lot of inexperienced guys. I mean, Chris Abrams-Drain, Damari Mathis, even though he's entering his fourth season now, he could still be somebody that he hasn't played a lot of football. Jack Jones has, and he's still young. At 5'11", 180, he's a little bit smaller for an outside corner that I like. But like I said, I mean, he's played almost 2,000 snaps total in the NFL, over 1,000 of them being last year for a Patrick Graham defense there in Las Vegas. So I'm a big advocate of looking in and maybe signing somebody like a Jack Jones if you can get him at a good price. Now, I personally believe, just based off of the fact that he's a little bit younger and that he's shown flashes of being good. Like I said, he also played some pretty bad football, but those are things that are going to happen with corners, especially as they're finding their footing. You know, he was really at one point the number one corner for them because they had a lot of injuries, and he was somebody that was just picked on a lot. So you can understand that transition. I think he's probably going to get a decently lucrative deal, and he's probably going to want to go to a team where he can get more playing time. But it opened up my eyes on not just necessarily bringing Jack Jones as somebody, but I would like to see the Broncos add a veteran, experienced corner, especially going, you know, maybe even before the draft, as they can, you know, go into it and say, you know, now we feel good with our roster, and they can truly just work their board and sign BPA, even in the, you know, middle to later rounds. It doesn't force them to get a corner, but there are some mid-round corners that I do like in this draft as well. But I always think it's good to have a little bit of experience in that room. And as much as I like the guys and I like the room as a whole, I think an additional vet presence is definitely something that, you know, the Broncos would benefit from. So this will be a quick video today, guys. I'll let you guys go back and enjoy your Sunday. But what do you think about the intrigue of not just necessarily bringing in Jack Jones, but adding to this cornerback room, whether it be in the free agency or in the draft? Let me know below in the comments, because as we know, guys, if one of these guys gets hurt, they go down for a couple of games. We saw the terrible effect that it could have on the defense. Once Riley Moss went down, the month ensuing was awful. So, yes, I would like to bring in some guys that are capable of stepping in. You always feel more confident that they can come from a vet. But let me know what you guys' thoughts are below. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Be sure to spend time with those that you love the most. And until the next video,